Hello, a very warm welcome to Granada Reports. We are live with the latest across the northwest.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for joining us here on Monday's headlines.
Calls for new law in honour of a Cheshire dad tragically killed by a falling tree.
Just robbed from his life in a heartbeat simply walking your dog in the most avoidable, wholly avoidable situation known to man. And yeah, it's just obliterated everything.
Police investigating the murder of a much-loved Liverpool grandmother make a plea for help.
Also on tonight's programme.
The teenager from Manchester celebrating after swimming the English Channel.
The Ashes are back. An England squad packed with Northwest rugby stars is named for the forthcoming Test series against the Aussies.
Meet the new residents of Knowsley Safari Park who are certain to become a roaring success with the public.
And high pressure continues to dominate our weather through the rest of this week, but we will hold on to quite a lot of cloud. I'll have all of the details later with the forecast.
So please do stay with us for all of that. But first tonight, the widow from Cheshire who's told us her husband's death can't have been for nothing.
Chris Hall was killed by a falling tree while out walking his dog in a park near his home in Wilmslow in August 2020.
The local council was fined £500,000 after a health and safety investigation found it had already shed another large limb and no one assessed whether the tree was dangerous.
Well, now Fiona Hall is calling for a new law to prevent similar tragedies and to make tree maintenance mandatory in public areas. She's been speaking to our correspondent Andy Bonner.
In the Cars, a public park in Wilmslow, there is a memorial that is hard to miss. It's set on the stump of a 130-year-old tree, part of which came crashing down 5 years ago. The huge branch killed Christopher Hall, who'd been out walking his dog. Tell me about Chris.
He was just funny and lively and could talk to anybody and they'd felt like they'd known him forever. He could go into a room full of strangers and leave with them all thinking they'd known him forever.
And it goes without saying you miss Chris.
Beyond. Yeah. And to this day, none of us can believe it.
Fiona soon learned that the tree was decayed and another large limb had fallen a year earlier. A recommendation to reduce the tree's height was never carried out. She told me she was horrified to discover the council, who controlled the park, didn't have a formal overarching tree strategy.
You just had to look at the tree and it was just like it split in half. And it did, because it was decayed.
Were you surprised there was no tree strategy in place?
It's abhorrent on every level. You know, the living items, living, things, trees, and they need looking after. And that's not meaning we go and chop them all down. Not saying that at all. The one that killed Chris is 130 years old. They're getting older, so we need to be looking at the old trees first. And then if they're not right, take them down and plant another one.
Fiona's launched a petition calling for mandatory tree maintenance across the country. It'll be raised in Parliament on Wednesday. That's welcome news for Chris's son, Sam.
Everyone's supporting us, and I think when these numbers are getting higher and higher, it's kind of showing there is a serious problem in this world, in this country, that it needs to be done something about.
Just robbed from his life in a heartbeat simply walking your dog in the most avoidable, wholly avoidable situation known to man. And yeah, it's just obliterated everything. I just believe with all my heart that it's doable and it's needed. Because Chris can't have been killed for nothing.
East Cheshire Council said today it's implemented a number of improvements in line with its adopted tree management strategy. And it says its priority is to ensure the safety of everyone who visits its green spaces. But Fiona and Sam won't rest until they can ensure a similar tragedy is not repeated. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Wilmslow.
Well, many thanks to Fiona and Sam for speaking to us. You can find more information about Chris's family's campaign on our website. That is itv.com/Granada. Well, next tonight, the trial of two men accused of plotting a terrorist atrocity on a mass gathering of Jewish people here in the northwest.
Walid Sadawi and Ammar Hussein are alleged to have plotted to cause untold harm and kill as many Jewish people as they could in the northwest of England.
Yeah, they had chosen to base themselves in Bolton, believing it was easier to fit in there and hide their weapons. They were excited as the day of execution got closer, going on recce's of Jewish nurseries, businesses and schools.
Well, Elaine Wilcox joins us now from Preston Crown Court, where the trial's taking place. Elaine.
Well, the court heard the defendants had laughed about creating a terrorist gang in the northwest. Two of the defendants lived in Wigan, but they'd gone on a recce to Dover, initially planning an attack in France. But then they'd settled on Manchester because it was an area they knew well and had the second largest Jewish community in the UK. The prosecution said they'd gone on recce's. Walid Sadawi had taken Farouk, described as an undercover operative around Prestwich, Higher Broughton and Cheetham Hill. He was attracted, they said, by the high concentration of synagogues, Jewish nurseries and businesses. They'd considered targeting a kosher supermarket first and then a children's nursery, but then spotted a school. Mr Sandhu, KC for the prosecution, said Walid Sadawi said, "This is a school, it's school time. We'll go to poison them. We'll put poison in their water, their children, their cars, their houses." He said, "By God, look at these. If you kill children at this age, they go to heaven. They haven't reached the age of accountability yet. They go to heaven and they don't count as infidels."
And Elaine, two of the defendants are from Wigan but chose to base themselves in Bolton for the attack. Why was that?
Yes, that's because the co-defendant, Ammar Hussein, he lived in Bolton and lived there for some time, and he said they would fit in well, and he'd chosen a safe house there to hide their weapons. Now, he had also gone to well-known areas. They'd met all the defendants in Queen's Park, they'd gone to the Last Drop Hotel, and they'd also gone to a mosque in Bolton. Now, Ammar Hussein had been in Saddam Hussein's army for 15 years, he claimed. He talked about identifying Jewish targets. He said, "We have 900 bullets, we are not here to play. Our operation is going to be much bigger than the other terrorist attacks in Europe." The third defendant, Bilal Sadawi, was said to be an ISIS supporter in court. Now, he knew about his brother's plans, he knew about the recce's, but the court was told he did nothing. Now, Ammar Hussein had also said his boss was Jewish and he'd planned to kidnap him, to slaughter and behead him. The two defendants described Jews as cowards who would show their backs when faced with our rifles. The young, the old, they wanted to kill all of them, the court heard. Ammar Hussein, on his arrest, said, "Terrorism is our religion. The Quran says terrorism is normal. We say terrorism is proud. Because you kill our children in Palestine, we have to defend our religion." He described himself as a soldier of Allah. All three defendants deny the charges. The trial continues here in Preston tomorrow.
Elaine, over at Preston Crown Court. For now, thank you.
Well, next to the police officers urgently trying to find answers for the family of a caring and gentle Liverpool grandmother who's at the centre of a murder investigation.
Yes, Rose Johnson was found dead at her home on Ancroft Road on Saturday the 4th of October. The 68-year-old had suffered a serious head injury.
Well, since then, police forensic teams have combed the street and officers have been going from house to house in the area asking for witnesses and CCTV pictures, but so far, no arrests have been made.
Tash Gichiri reports now from Merseyside Police Headquarters.
Rose Johnson's body was found at her home in Dovecot last week. Merseyside Police said that she came home on the 2nd of October. Her body was found 2 days later at about 12:30 p.m. Her family said that she was a private person who liked to take walks around her area. She'd lived there for more than 40 years. So far, no arrests have been made and her family are being supported by officers. The police are appealing for anyone who may have any idea of what happened to Rose to come forward.
We're pursuing a number of lines of inquiries, including forensics. Our ask is that if anybody has any information or has seen or spoken to Rose in the days preceding her being found, we know that Rose had returned home on Thursday, the 2nd of October, and was found on Saturday, the 4th. What we'd ask is if anyone's spoken to Rose, had any conversation with them, bumped into her in the street, or has seen her at any event, and any information that she may have disclosed to them that we could use to assist the inquiry team.
The grandmother's death has shocked the local community, and police have upped patrols in the area. They say they are working tirelessly to find out what happened to Rose.
Taja Kachuri reporting from Merseyside Police HQ. Some more of the day's news now, and this Southport inquiry's heard there's been a sharp rise in referrals to the government's anti-terror programme following the atrocity. The increase in referrals is related to people suspected of having a fixation with violence. Catherine Elsmore, director of the Home Office's Prevent programme, said she wasn't sure whether the increase was due to partner agencies making referrals because their risk tolerance had fallen since the stabbings, or whether there'd been a previous underestimate of the cohorts.
A vigil will be held at Manchester Cathedral tonight in the wake of the terror attack on Heaton Park Synagogue just under 2 weeks ago. The Dean of Manchester will pray for peace, followed by an hour of silence. It comes as a fundraiser launched in the attack's aftermath passes £100,000, and the Home Secretary's pledged to change the law over protests in the days that followed.
The right to protest is a fundamental freedom, but it must be balanced against the right the public has to their safety and their security. In my conversations with community leaders and the police in recent days, it is clear that balance has not been struck. The police will be able to take account of the cumulative impact of frequent protests when considering whether to impose conditions.
A former high school teacher from Blackpool has denied the murder and sexual assault of her baby boy. Appearing on video link at Preston Crown Court, 36-year-old Jamie Varley pleaded not guilty to 33 charges relating to 13-month-old Preston Davey. He was in the process of adopting Preston with his co-accused John McGowan Fazakerley, who denies 4 offences.
The Royal Navy's newest nuclear submarine, built in Barrow, has passed a vital test, successfully submerging for the first time. The water dive is part of 3 days of testing in Cumbria at the home of BAE Systems. The submarine, known as HMS Agamemnon, will soon be heading to Clyde in Scotland to join the other new submarines in the Navy's fleet.
OK, still to come on the programme.
We hear from the England Rugby League coach as he names his squad for the first Ashes series in more than 2 decades.
And our weather's set to stay rather cloudy over the next couple of days with the odd spot of light rain and drizzle at times. I'll have all of the details coming up shortly with the forecast.
Well, next we're meeting a remarkable young man who's joined an elite club of swimmers, those who've swam the English Channel, and he's just 16 years of age.
Yes, Rory Kay is one of the Mencap Marvels, a team of swimmers who've raised more than £200,000 for the charity.
Well, Rory's feat is absolutely fantastic, and not just because of his young age, but he's also living with conditions, dyspraxia and hypermobility, which make it an extra challenge and puts him at increased risk of injury.
Well, we are delighted to say that Rory joins us now with Nikki Pope, who's the head coach of the Mencap Marvels. Welcome to you both. Firstly, Rory, what was it like?
Wow. It was honestly quite scary. Well, when you jumped in, it was just like pitch black, the water. So you started off at around 1 o'clock, was it?
1 o'clock in the morning.
And then we swam. And I think the best part of the swim, was the donut at 9 hours, because I didn't know there was a donut. And you think at 9 hours you're feeling quite sort of tired and battered and destroyed. And then I didn't know, and I've just been eating sort of like exercise food. Yeah. And then I just got like a donut. Oh. And that was really good.
Well, you certainly earned that donut, didn't you?
Thank you.
I just can't imagine how terrifying it must have been to jump in the dark because there was nothing around you. What was probably the hardest part of the challenge for you?
Well, I think the hardest part was not the start but the end, because if a channel swim, if you go over a certain amount of time, often the tide can take you out and you can't get back in for another few hours, and that's when you're most exhausted. So you just got to keep on swimming at a decent speed. But I think the best part of the swim, apart from the donut, obviously, was when I just poked my head around like Masterpiece. Because if you imagine you're swimming next to the boat, and sometimes the boat goes a bit forward, or a bit ahead, or a bit behind, I just poked my head and I saw 2 orange lines, and then that started the sunset, and that meant I survived the night because I started swimming at 1 o'clock.
So that was almost 6 hours of swimming in the darkness. And I remember Rory's first English Channel relay, and he was quite upset after his first 1 hour of swimming in the darkness. So even though Rory's done a lot of training, we used to call Rory Wiggly Worm, and this chap has made such a huge amount of progress. And 6 hours in the dark, even if you are fully trained, it's not easy for anyone. And some very experienced swimmers give up. And Rory just never a doubt. Rory absolutely smashed it, and we're super proud.
I mean, there's a physical aspect of it all, but there's also the mental endurance that you need to have. And we understand that you had a couple of close encounters with some jellyfish. What was that like?
Well, so after actually 9 hours, just after the donut was my first one. So I swam off from the boat, and then it sort of felt a bit like a warm hand at first, but then I was like, "Ow, what is that?" And it was just felt the pain, and it wasn't nice, and it stayed like the rest of the swim. But I think it had prepared for me the rest of the swim. I did a few swims with the beach all men kept marvels at my school, so. I did 3 relays, 3 channels, and then one relay around New York, around Manhattan Island. So I think that is where I actually got my sort of wanting to swim the channel. I think at the start of after the first relay, I knew one day I wanted to do it, but I didn't know it'd be 10, 20, 30 years. But then on my second relay, second, sorry. I think. Nikki said I could do it next year if I train really hard. So then first I said maybe not sure, but then we went to the CSA ball, and then we saw another swimmer. Basically, I'm swam the channel at actually 16 solo. So then I was like, maybe I could do this.
Rory's had other encounters with jellyfish, and we know it's never about the obstacles, it's how you overcome them.
You got a special blazer from the school as well, didn't you? Let's have a quick look at that, Rory.
This one.
Hold it there. It says Channel Swimmer, and you've done this to raise money for MenCap, and I know you've raised over £11,000, so you've done absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for coming in to see us, Rory and Nikki from MenCap. Marvels, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Well, just a reminder of tonight's top story. A woman whose husband was killed by a falling tree is calling for a new law to prevent similar tragedies. Christopher Hall from Wilmslow died while out walking his dog in August 2020. His wife Fiona wants to make tree maintenance mandatory in public areas.
And here's Mary with details of what's coming up on the ITV Evening News shortly.
Coming up on the programme, moments of joy and relief as the last surviving Israeli hostages are released and reunited with their families. In return, Israel begins to free hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. And the man behind the deal flies into Israel. Donald Trump hails an historic dawn of a new Middle East. And here, why more than 1 million drivers could be in line for a payout over claims that car makers cheated diesel emission tests. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
I was not swimming the channel when I was 16, going up to no
I mean,
good.
that's what you were to.
On to sport now, and no trophy for Wigan this year, but good news for at least some of their players today. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, it will take quite a while to get over that grand final defeat, but a call-up for the Ashes will certainly help. Today, 3 Wigan Warriors players have been named in England's squad for the Test series against Australia. The news comes less than 48 hours after Wigan lost the trophy they'd held for 2 years. Hull KR winning the Super League grand final by 24 points to 6 to complete the treble. Also in today's England squad are 5 players from St Helens and 1 each from Leigh and Warrington. Let's hear from the England head coach, Sean Wayne.
It's a great challenge for us. They're obviously the best team in the world, but the chance to win the Ashes in this country and what it will do for our players, put them in the history books forever in our game, is so important that we don't miss this chance.
Yeah, Sean Wayne, full of confidence. He's not the only one. Mike Hall has caught up with one of the England stars.
Yes, if you thought the Rugby League season was over, then think again. We are just a few days away now from the start of the first Ashes series in more than 20 years. Sean Wayne named his England side here in Worsley in Salford this afternoon, and Herbie Farnworth is in that squad. Congratulations, Herbie.
No, thank you.
You must be buzzing to be a part of this.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we haven't had a series for over 20 years now, so to be a part of this is a pretty special moment.
You're a Lancashire lad, but you've been playing in Australia now for a number of years. Tell us about your journey down there.
Yeah, obviously started off in Lancashire and played all my junior footy in Wigan and St Helens, and then slowly made my way out over to the Gold Coast area, and then signed for Brisbane Broncos when I was 17. So I've been loving it there, but obviously missing home a lot and trying to get back about once a year.
And all your family is still in the northwest, yeah?
Yep, yeah, everyone's still back home. So I was with them last night. Had a little walk up Pendle Hill this morning, which was nice. A bit misty up there, but it's always good to be back home.
I want to ask you what your favourite Ashes memories are, but I can't because you were only 3 years old the last time it happened. It's a long time coming, this, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. So obviously it might be my only chance to play in an Ashes series. So as the last one was over 20 years ago, so it's a very special moment. All my family and friends will be there watching and cheering me on, and I absolutely love playing in front of them too. So I don't get to do it too often.
22 years since an Ashes series. It's more than half a century since the Aussies were beaten in an Ashes series. You've seen the 24-man squad that you were a part of. How confident are you that England can end that drought?
Yeah, I've got a lot of trust in the boys that Wayne's picked, and obviously a lot of trust in the staff as well, including obviously the coach Wayne. So we've got a great side there. The Australians have got a very, very strong side too. So it'll be a great battle, but I'm sure the English spirit will come out on top.
Let's hope so. Thanks for talking to us, Herbie. Have a great series. It all starts a week on Saturday at Wembley Stadium. The second test is at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium a week later. That's sold out, and it all wraps up at Headingley. The Ashes are back, and we can't wait.
Absolutely. Now to football, though, and a historic moment for Everton's women. They've played their first Women's Super League match at Hill Dickinson Stadium in front of 18,000 fans. But Manchester United spoiled the party, winning 4-1 to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. And at Anfield, Manchester City inflicted Liverpool's 7th straight defeat. That's a club record. It ended 2-1 to City, who remained second in the table. Now on to the men, and Stockport County have closed the gap at the top of League One. With other clubs on international break, they took advantage, beating Blackpool 1-0 to climb up to 4th in the table. Elsewhere, Bolton and Wigan lost, while Oldham and Barrow shared the points with a goalless draw in League Two. There were defeats for Accrington, Salford, Crewe and Tranmere, but Fleetwood came from behind twice to beat Harrogate 3-2.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsor of the Granada Sport Report.
Finally to darts, and Luke Littler admits he won't have won many new friends after entering the World Youth Championship today. Warrington's world champion, who last night won the World Grand Prix title, still qualifies for the youth tournament, which is open to players aged 16 to 24. So he entered the qualifying round, which began in Wigan today. And I can tell you, he's got through to the semi-finals, but it doesn't seem fair, does it?
Not at all.
Poor kids.
All right, Chris, thanks very much.
Well, now to a double dose of cute.
Yeah, a pair of rare Amur tiger cubs born at Knowsley Safari in the summer are taking their first steps outside under the watchful gaze of first-time mum Yuki.
It's estimated there are only 500 Amur tigers left in the wild, and the births are seen as playing an important role in saving the species from extinction.
Well, Paul Crone went to see if he could get a glimpse of those little cuties.
Camouflage is great if you're an Amur tiger, not so good if you're trying to film two new tiny tiger cubs. Ah, there's Mom Yuki. But what about the tiny terrors? Is that an ear? Is that a tail? But with a little bit of patience, it's not long before we're rewarded with Knowsley Safari's new kids on the block. Born at the end of July, this pair of stunning Amur tiger cubs are doing well, much to the relief of staff.
It's so uncertain as to how the cubs are going to get on, and obviously with Yuki being a first-time mother, there's no guarantees, but we're starting to all unclench a little bit now. She's doing fantastic.
The biggest issue facing keepers at the moment is that, for obvious reasons, it's difficult to get a hands-on inspection of the cubs, so at present no one knows if they're male or female.
The process will be that we'll feed Mum Yuki separately from the cubs, and while they're in the den box we'll separate them off, and then we'll go in with the vet, catch them up, and just do a health check, and during that we can give them their vaccinations and see what we've got. They definitely have different characters. There's one that's a little bit more cautious and a little bit more calculated, and another that will just vault all over the paddock all the time.
With around only 500 Amur tigers left in the wild due to decreasing habitat and poaching, these beautiful creatures become even more precious and in need of protection.
We have turned a few corners in a very positive way, and I think there are a lot of really useful efforts out there, but they always need support. They always need funding, and they need support from everyone, you know, from us, from you at home. Just learning about the species is support in itself.
The cubs are now 10 weeks old, but are still almost entirely reliant on mum's milk, although they are starting to show an interest in mum's leftover scraps of meat. Of course, a piece of wood to chew on is always a good substitute. And then it's time for a little bit of rough and tumble. And we'll let you know in due course whether the cubs are boys or girls.
They are man killers, obviously, in a lot of places, but they're such a rare animal, and it's such a privilege to be able to see them from the second they're born and see how they develop in such a natural environment. And obviously these are Knowsley Safari's first tiger cubs in nearly 30 years.
Oh no, not another game of hide and seek. We could be here all day. Paul Crone, ITV News, Knowsley.
Not a good idea to inspect the sex of those cubs, is it?
Definitely not. Here's Louise with the weather.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there. Good evening. After a rather cloudy and damp start this morning, we did have one or two brighter breaks this afternoon. Over the next couple of days, it will remain largely dry but cloudy. A few brighter breaks at times, and there is a chance of one or two light spots of rain. In the overnight period, we could see some mist and fog patches forming as well. High pressure continues to dominate our weather this week, keeping it largely dry and settled, but that high starts to edge off towards the northwest later in the week, and we will draw in cooler air from a northerly direction, so it will start to feel slightly cooler and fresher than it has done recently. Quite a lot of cloud around tonight, one or two mist and fog patches forming as we head towards dawn. Winds will stay on the light side, and it is rather mild overnight tonight. Temperatures holding up between 9 and 14 degrees Celsius, so staying frost free. A cloudy start tomorrow morning, one or two spots of light rain and drizzle. Any mist and fog will quickly lift and clear. Into the afternoon, we will have a few glimmers of sunshine here and there, but it's a rather dull and overcast day with light winds and a top temperature of 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. Taking a look ahead to Wednesday then, the middle part of the week remaining fairly cloudy once again. Temperatures slowly starting to trend down there. We will have one or two brighter breaks at times, but for the most part it will stay quite dull and cloudy. Cloudy again through Thursday. Thicker cloud could produce one or two spots of light rain and drizzle. There is a chance of some mist and fog patches developing in the overnight period, but for the most part overnight it should stay largely mild with temperatures holding up in the high single figures. That is the very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Yeah, thanks, Louise.
Before we go, let's take another look at those gorgeous tiger cubs at Nosey Safari Park, the first to be born there since 1996.
Yeah, we're back after the late news. Hope you can join us. Bye for now.